Hi guys. So we're going to do a review on chapter 13 that we've been working on in grammar. And in this chapter we talked about adjectives, adverbs, articles, and commas. Remember in English we have a lot of names for things that are very familiar to us, but sometimes the label makes us a little uncertain of what we're talking about. So let's just remember adjectives describe nouns. Adverbs, you can see the word verbs in adverbs. Those tell us more about verbs and action words. Articles, a, an, and the, and then commas that we worked on yesterday. So let's review. So adjectives are words that describe nouns. So you think of a person, place, or thing, and then you think of words that could describe a person, place, or thing, like a soft pillow or a heavy brick. For our example here, Kevin is wearing black shoes. Black describes shoes, so that's an adjective. We can have the adjective come right before the noun, or we can also use a linking verb like is wearing, so that we are having the adjective come after the verb. So look at our sentences again. The color Kevin is wearing black shoes. The adjective comes before the noun. Then look at our next sentence. The shoes Kevin is wearing are black. Either way, black is an adjective. It's describing shoes. So black shoes right here or black shoes. They're both adjectives. So now I want you to think. That is a blank dog. Think of an adjective that could go there. Okay, so we could say that is a big dog, a huge dog, a small dog, a fluffy dog, a hairy dog, an ugly dog, a beautiful dog. All of those words would work. Those are all adjectives. Okay, try another one. That dog is. So we've got a linking verb, and we want to put the adjective after that one. So that dog is huge, small, pretty, excited, excited. All those would be adjectives that describe the dog, either before the word dog or after the word dog. Okay, so we can compare adjectives. We can compare two things, or we can compare more than two things. So we can change our adjective to show that we're comparing. So green is an adjective. So look at our sample sentence here. Our lawn is very green. Okay, so green describes what word? Right, it describes this noun, lawn. Lawn is a thing. Okay, so that's a noun. And green is describing it. Our lawn is very green. But if I want to compare two lawns, okay, so we can compare two between two, we would say greener. Okay, so I'm thinking about our lawn and about his lawn. We're comparing two lawns. So we would say his lawn is greener than ours. But let's say we had more than two lawns, so we can compare between more than two. So we could say greenest. Mrs. Smith's lawn is greenest of all. Okay, so we add er onto most adjectives when we're comparing between two, and we add the suffix est if we're comparing more than two on many adjectives. So there are different spelling rules for adjectives that we need to keep in mind for both our reading and our writing. So here are some rules. If your adjective ends in a silent E, we want to drop that E before adding ER or EST. We don't want to have stranger with two E's right here and make it be strange ear or strange east. We wouldn't do that. So we're going to drop this silent E. Drop this silent E in strange, and then we add ER or EST. If we have an adjective that has a short vowel followed by a consonant, so for example, thin, this I is a short vowel and it's followed by a consonant. When we want to compare with ER or EST, we're going to double that consonant, thinner with two N's or thinnest with two N's. So for instance, the adjective big, if we wanted to make it bigger, we would have to double that G, double the consonant before adding ER or EST. So remember, if your adjective has a short vowel sound followed by a consonant, we're going to double those consonants. Okay, rule number 3. Rule number 3, if your adjective ends in a Y, okay, I'm sorry, the consonant and then a Y. So our example here is busy. Here's our consonant, here's our Y. When we want to compare more than, we want to compare two or more than two, we're going to change that Y to an I and then add ER or EST. So busy becomes busier. Busiest, busy, to compare more than two busy things, we would say busiest. Think about the word pretty. We would have a consonant followed by a Y, so we would change that Y in pretty before we add the ER to make it prettier. Okay? All right, now some adjectives we're not going to add ER or EST because it just gets to be too much of a mouthful and sounds really weird. So we wouldn't want to say, my vacation was wonderfuler than your vacation. That just sounds really just too much, right? So on those long adjectives that have more syllables, we don't want to use ER or EST to compare. We want to use the word more or most. So if you're comparing between two things, you would say more. And if you were comparing them between more than two things, you would use the word most. So we would have most wonderful, more beautiful, most beautiful, more delicious, or most delicious. All right, then we had one little activity on articles. Those are those special adjectives that are just the little short words that give us a little bit more clarity in our sentences. So we use the words a and an with singular nouns. Okay, remember singular means one. And the can be used with singular or plural. And just depends on how definite you want to be in your sentences. So let's look at some examples here. An elephant walked across the street. Now, why did I use the word an instead of a? That's right, because this noun starts with a vowel. So when your noun starts with a vowel sound, you want to put an in front of it. An elephant walked across the street. Now, the can be used with either singular or plural nouns. So let's take a look. The elephants walked across the street. Elephants is plural, so we wouldn't use a for elephants. We want to say the. The elephants walked across the street. Here we have a singular noun, just one girl. So we say a girl took their picture. Now we could also say the girl took their picture. Okay. And lastly, the baby elephant smiled. We could say a baby elephant smiled there also because baby elephant is singular. It's just one. Okay, then we moved on to adverbs. And adverbs, kind of easy to remember because they have the word verb in it. So we remember adverbs describe verbs. They tell us how, when, or where an action happens because remember verbs are action words. So here in this sentence, the airplane landed smoothly. Let's think of the action. The action's landed. How did the airplane land? It landed smoothly. Okay, another question adverbs help us understand is when an action happens. So look at this sentence. The action in this sentence, next we will read a story. Will read is our verb or action. And next tells us when that will happen. And lastly, adverbs can tell us where an action happens. Okay, so he put his book there. Put is our action, and there shows us where he put his book. Okay, then yesterday we had our lesson on commas, so let's just review. Remember, we use commas in many different ways, and most of those were review for us. I think this one was a little bit new in a series, so if we have several things in a series, several items, we want to separate those things with commas so that there's a little bit of a pause. I am working on math, comma, reading, comma, and language today. Now notice, I don't put a comma here, I don't put a comma here, I don't put a comma here. I'm just separating these three things, math, reading, and language. And so we have a comma here and a comma here. Okay, we also separate the day, month, and the year. So Friday, comma, March 20, comma, 2020. If we have time order words, or we have words that are giving answers that we want to set apart from the rest of the sentence, we use a comma for that too. So finally, that's a time order word. We set that apart. Finally, I finished my test. Or if we're answering a question, we separate our answer from our explanation. Yes, I would like to go to your party. Now we also use commas when we are using somebody's name in a sentence. For instance, Joe, please put on your shoes. So we would put a comma there. Now what if I wanted Joe at the end? We could say, please put on your shoes, comma, Joe, period. Okay, so anytime we're setting someone's name apart from the rest of the sentence, we're going to use a comma. Okay, and then we've talked about this many times about using commas in quotations. Here's what the boy was saying, I dropped the ball, and we put a comma, then our quotation mark, and we finish the sentence. He said sadly. And then in letters we use it. In our heading, Dear Mrs. LaFave, comma. Remember, we don't put the comma here. We don't put the comma here. We put it after the whole heading. And then after the whole closing. Not your, comma, friend. Just your friend, comma. And then you would write your name. Okay, so that is our review. If it went too fast, please watch it again. You are going to do your Chapter 13 review in your English book. And I would like you to do this all on your own, and we're going to count this for a test. Okay, so please have your parents send in a photo of page 243 and 244. So again, you might want to watch this video again to make sure that you're ready. I don't want you to use this video while you're completing your review. Okay? All right, we'll see you later.